Every once in a while, there's an anime that just feels different than the surplus amount of anime out there. It lacks the overly embraced cliches, yet it not only makes itself understood, it also manages to make a clear and distinct impression on the viewer. Those fortunate enough to watch it while it's airing get emotionally influenced by the grave amount of emotions that are there in that anime. And those who binge it overnight just can't get rid of the emptiness they feel after they finish the last episode. Such is the story of the anime called Vinland Saga. Now, before we dive into this topic, I just want you all to go ahead and like the video and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It all really helps the channel grow, so thank you. Also, I do why you should watch this or that anime videos every week, so hit the notification bell while you're at it. That way, you'll be the first one to know when I upload the next video. Well then, let's get back to Vinland Saga. For the past few years, we have seen a major surge in the number of Attack on Titan fans. Some even claim it to be the best anime there is, and for all the right reasons. There is no denying the statement that Attack on Titan is inarguably a top-tier anime that deserves the fair amount of praise and respect it is getting. However, there are some stories that are at the same level, if not even better, yet they aren't getting enough attention. Take the likes of Berserk, Vagabond, or even Vinland Saga, for example. All three of them are historical masterpieces that stand at the top of the manga world. And for years, we of the anime community used to think that if one of these mangas were to receive an anime adaptation, it'll blow up the internet. But considering how fans were dissatisfied with the original Berserk anime and the reboot was a major disappointment, people didn't have much hopes for the adaptations of these mangas. We have just come to accept the fact that they might never receive a good adaptation. However, back in March of 2018, the same studio that animated Attack on Titan announced that Vinland Saga will get an anime adaptation in the year 2019. Now, even though fans were overjoyed, they were still very skeptical. But the trailer comes up and suddenly the anticipation levels among fans go over 9,000. Still, I have got to admit, I had no idea all this was happening back then. Or rather, even during mid-2019, I had no idea that an anime called Vinland Saga was about to air. So without any prior knowledge of what it was about, I watched it just because it was airing. Little did I know it would end up being my personal favorite anime of that year. Sure, I love The Promised Neverland and Demon Slayer, but were they at the same level as Vinland Saga? No, not even close. And ironically, the anime only covered the prologue of the actual story. Just imagine, if the prologue was that good, how good would the actual story be? And just like what any simple man would have done after finishing the anime, I binged the manga, and man, I couldn't believe that people weren't giving it the same attention as Attack on Titan, My Hero Academia, or Demon Slayer, or any other anime that blew up in the recent years. Now don't get me wrong, I love those anime and they deserve the attention they are getting. But it's just that I feel like Vinland Saga deserves more. The story begins with a little cheerful boy named Thorfinn, but within just 4 episodes, his entire world turns upside down. He loses his sense of self, he disregards the words of his father, and he gets consumed by the desire for revenge. From there on out, the series is barely about Thorfinn. New characters get introduced and major events start happening. And in the middle of it all, Thorfinn is just another Viking. Nothing more, nothing less. I seriously don't want to spoil even a little, so we are not going to talk much about the plot. What I can say is, the main focus of the story is going to Vinland. I mean, it's even there in the name. But because the anime is just a prologue, the main focus of the anime isn't actually Vinland itself. It is about the reality of the Viking world, the stupidity of an average man, the arrogance of those in power, some highly detailed world building, and some insanely subtle character development. Or in other words, you can say that the story needed this prologue to properly establish its foundations. I'd say the thing about Vinland Saga is that there is no simple way of describing it. It's just that once you start watching it, you'll find yourself getting dragged deeper and deeper into the narrative. To be honest, I am glad they didn't ruin the prologue by trying to squeeze it all into 12 episodes. But it's Wit Studio we're talking about. They wouldn't do that, would they? There's so much potential in this series. If Wit Studio decides to adapt the sequel and maintains the quality, this series would be more than good enough to be on par with the likes of Attack on Titan. Some people may even prefer it over Attack on Titan. Some still do. I do admit that both anime are substantially different. The only thing they have in common is the animation studio. While Attack on Titan is more of a mystery-focused fantasy story, Vinland Saga establishes its roots in real-life events that actually happened in the past, and then uses those events as the foundation to establish itself as a work of fiction. So there is really no reason to state which one is better. I just wanted to give you all a little perspective by that comparison. But as I said before, what makes Vinland Saga stand out is the realism. Combine that with the notion that these events actually happened and the characters actually existed back in the early thousands, and the anime just feels different. It feels deep. And even the way you view the events changes. Well, what can we say? War and suffering has always been an integral part of human history, and while it's been peaceful these days, the situation was different back in the day. Normal people had no idea when and how they were going to die, or rather get sold as slaves. We don't know enough about history, but it goes without saying that it is far more cruel and unforgiving than what you see in works of fiction. Vinland Saga may also be a work of fiction, but the way Makoto Yukimura never bothered to romanticize anything became the strength of the series, and I am sure it'll continue to be that way. Thank you, Makoto, for the masterpiece that is Vinland Saga. Now, the story itself is about the events of the early thousands when the Vikings were all over the battlefield, and war was nothing but a natural occurrence. Ironically, for some of the characters, war is as meek as a pastime. I'm looking at you, Thorkel. And this anime is a perfect combination of fiction and those historical events that may or may not have happened. You can even call it a historical slice of life. Sensitive topics like hatred, depression, fear, slaughter, sexual abuse, assassinations, or just about anything that you can imagine happening in war, this anime has it all covered. Oftentimes, the narrative was so strong that I had no idea who was supposed to be the protagonist and who was supposed to be the antagonist. Things just kept happening. You see, there's no clear distinction between what is right and what is wrong in this anime. Just like that, the characters you like were all bad guys. The mangaka also doesn't hesitate to kill the best characters, and that can sometimes get to you. You may not feel much at the moment, but as the episodes go by, you'll start to realize the magnitude of that death. That's why the feels don't go away, even when you have finished the anime and you move on to the manga. The story itself is cruel. It does not hesitate to slap you in the face with an unprecedented plot twist, and it shows just how little it takes, or rather even a single event is enough to completely change a person. This is the kind of anime that can instantly change the temperature of your body and get your heart racing. Back when it aired, the hype was real, but it seems to have died down, which is exactly why we need more and more people to discover this gem. Trust me, these 24 episodes will be like something you've never experienced before. Remember, in Vinland Saga, things aren't romanticized. In that sense, Vinland Saga is a masterpiece. It is a historical slice of life, and it deserves to be the next big thing. Still not sure what I'm talking about? Go and watch it. Who knows? A few days later, you may just find yourself reading the latest chapter of the manga. There you go, guys. They were my thoughts on Vinland Saga. I am sure that some of you may have already watched it. If so, what are your thoughts? Do you agree with me or do you disagree? Do you think that there will be an anime sequel? The last scene of the episode did tease some characters from the upcoming arcs, after all.